is working. How's everyone doing, man? Everyone doing good? In this live stream, we are going to be researching the fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker. And I'm just checking all these streams are working. Great, here we go. Also, just to let you guys know, after or at the beginning, but I will say basically at the end of every live stream video, people leave comments on the YouTube video as it gets uploaded to YouTube, requesting timestamps on these videos. So, if you are watching this, just know that there's no timestamps because this is a live stream. So please don't be the dude that asks for. Please don't be the dude that asks for timestamps on a live stream. It's a fucking live stream. Anyway, let's go. Let's go. What is up, everyone? Hope you're having a good day. Alright. Let's get into it. So, in this live stream, we will be researching the fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker. So, if we start off by taking a look at the odds, we have got Robert Whittaker, one of the biggest favourites on the card. Currently around about an average of... We'll round it up. We'll just call it 1.40 for simplicity. So 1.40 is minus 250 for an implied probability of 71%. And if we take a look at the odds on Gastelum, currently around about an average of 3.10, which is plus 210 for an implied probability of 32%. So the bookies feel this is roughly 70-40 in Whittaker's favour. And from hazy memories before we step into the fight footage, I would tend to agree with them. I think once upon a time, this would have been a really, really difficult stylistic matchup for Kelvin Gastelum. Once upon a time, I think this would have been a really tough stylistic matchup for Robert Whittaker because he does have a habit of getting dinged. And obviously, Kelvin Gastelum, very fast, pretty good boxer. At least he was once upon a time. However, we saw Gastelum pretty recently, fought about 6 weeks ago against Ian Heinisch, and I wasn't impressed by his performance at all. I think he looked very slow, very flat, and in contrast, I think Whittaker is Whittaker's looking pretty good at the moment. He looked very sharp against Jared Cannonier. So you're only as good as your last fight, and in their most recent fights, Gastelum appears to be on quite a steep decline at the moment, whereas Whittaker seems to be tweaking his style, where he doesn't come out as aggressive, doesn't come out and brawl as much as he did in the past, but I do feel Whittaker is making some positive adjustments, and we saw many of them in his last fight against Jared Cannonier. So I do think we should start off by taking a look at Gastelum versus Heinisch, because like I say, I do feel that Gastelum is on a bit of a decline, and I feel when we look at the difference between Gastelum against Heinisch, and I'm not sure if we'll go all the way back and watch his fight against Izzy, but if we do watch that fight, I think that we're going to see we're going to see a real regression in Gastelum's skill set, what he brings to the table. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape. So Gastelum is a southpaw, 29 years old, which means he shouldn't be declining. Gastelum should be a guy still improving at only 29 years old. But he's 5'9" with a 71.5-inch reach. Robert Whittaker's 30 years old, which is kind of crazy, right? Whittaker's been around forever. He's got 27 pro fights, but he's still only 30 years old. 6 foot tall with a 73-inch reach. So, a little bit of a size and reach advantage for Whittaker. Nothing major, but obviously Gastelum is used to fighting guys who are a lot bigger than he is, because he is very, very undersized for a middleweight. You know what? With this wingspan, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, Gastelum should probably be fighting in the featherweight division. But obviously he doesn't like cutting weight, and he's even had trouble making weight at middleweight in the past, which is kind of crazy. So if we take a look at where Gastelum is training, for the longest time he was training at King's MMA, and looks like that's where he is still training. This picture was taken 2 weeks ago. And he actually says there 2 weeks until fight day, basically. In this picture, we've got Beneil Dariush. And obviously, King's MMA is a great gym to train at. So, great stuff. We know where Kelvin's training, right? Trained there for a long time. As for Whittaker, Whittaker trains back in Australia in a relatively small regional gym. But his teammate, Jacob Malkoun, is also fighting on this card with him. They're giving Jacob Malkoun a main event spot against a really tough opponent in Abdul Razak Al Hassan, which was a little bit weird, but that's one of Whittaker's training partners. So I think we should get into the footage now. Let's take a look. So we'll start off by taking a look at Gastelum against Heinisch, because I do feel that this matchup is going to make it very, very difficult to bet Gastelum with how bad he looked. So I will drop in a link for you guys. So sync up this first round for me. Get it going, guys. Sync it up, and I'll grab an ESPN Plus link for you as well. So if you're not familiar with how these sessions work, obviously we all watch the fight together in sync, fight companion style, and then, you know, I give my thoughts as we go through, as we watch the footage, as we've all got it synced up with this countdown clock, and hopefully we can dig up a bet and find one of these guys worth betting. So let's get into it then. So first fight up, Gastelum against Heinisch. Let's see what we've got. So sync up this first round for me, guys. Let's get it going. It starts at around, on Fight Pass at least, it starts at 1 minute 54. That's 1 minute 54. 1 minute 54. Let's get it going, guys. Yeah, that's a great idea, Rivers of Red, mate. We need to get a Bisping one. I want a Bisping one and a Dana one. I don't think we've got Bisping or Dana, right? We've got Eddie, Joe, and Brendan. Yeah, we need to get Dana and Bisping ones. I think I need to go up a tier though before I can add more emotes on Twitch. I think I need more subscribers before I can add more. I think right now 3 might be as many as I can add. I think when I get to a few more subscribers, I can add 2 more. So for now, I'll have to wait until the Twitch channel grows a little bit. Hopefully it will. Not many people like Twitch, which is weird. My live streams on YouTube get a lot more than my live streams on Twitch, which I don't understand. But yeah, man, we need some Dana ones and some Bisping ones for sure. Alright, let's get into this first round. Gastelum against Heinisch. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what we've got. So from memory, hey, what's up, rookie, mate? Good to see you, dude. So from memory, Gastelum did not look good here. So Gastelum coming out southpaw as always. Gives up a pretty weak takedown there from Heinisch, but we know that Gastelum's takedown offense and ground game's always been bad. A few of the boys, Royd was talking this week about how, well, Royd and Roaster in the chat room were discussing this week how, you know, Whittaker, ever since losing the title to Adesanya, he is starting to fight a lot more tactically. And so with, you know, guys like Hermanson, guys like Weidman, writing the blueprint on how to beat Gastelum easily recently with grappling, would be interesting to see if Whittaker did come in with a grappling heavy game plan. You know, take Gastelum down, causing big trouble on the ground. I feel like Whittaker is one of these guys that kind of built a career off tactical brawling. But since losing his title, like I say, against Darren Till and Cannonier, he's fought a lot smarter and a lot safer. So Heinisch just kind of hesitating in this position. Needs to turn into Gastelum so he can start digging underhooks, but at the moment he's just allowing Gastelum to have this position. Now you see Heinisch trying to break the grip of Gastelum and turn into him. Very, very slow though, and because he's hesitating, he allows Gastelum to get that body lock takedown. Heinisch fishing for a Kimura from Mount, but obviously very difficult to get that because Gastelum can anchor his body with his legs underneath the thighs of Heinisch. So Heinisch going to have to let go of this. There he goes. So the thing with Ian Heinisch is one of these really low level guys that people think is good, but he isn't. So Gastelum out grappling a guy like Heinisch doesn't tell us a great deal, because we know Heinisch is super low level on the ground. I mean, both these guys are very low level on the ground, right? But early on, Heinisch has put himself in some bad positions by not correctly defending the takedown, but manages to use his size and physicality to scramble out of there. And it's very, very weird what's been going on, with Gastelum at the moment. Just hasn't looked as sharp as he did against Adesanya since losing that fight. It's almost like he lost motivation after building his way up to a title shot and then not achieving it. And he's openly spoke about this in interviews as well, right? He talks a lot about motivation and his training, which is really weird considering, he's still top of the... You know what, JB? I think Kelvin was good. I do think Kelvin was good. His boxing was very, very sharp. His boxing's always been great. But I do feel with Kelvin, his grappling has always been super bad. And the difference since the Izzy fight was his boxing's looked a lot flatter for whatever reason. He's a lot more gun shy now. Like even here, right? You could see even here against Heinisch, he's using a lot of grappling. Whereas in the past, you would have seen him with a very striking heavy game plan. And that just, to me, shows that he's just lacking in confidence in his striking. Not where he used to be. It's a shame that Whittaker is as big of a favourite as he is. I really, really like Whittaker in this fight. But it's going to be hard to bet Whittaker at these odds. It's like the bookies are scaring away the action with the odds on Whittaker, 1.40 minus 250. Implied probability of 71%. Those are steep odds to pay. But we know Ian Heinisch has got very, very bad boxing defense. So you would have expected Gastelum to light him up in this fight, and he didn't really. So sync up round 2 for me. Round 2 starts in 8 minutes and 1 second. That's 8 minutes and 1 second. Hey, what's up, Taz? Good to see you, mate. 8 minutes and 1 second. Oh, nice one, Rivers of Red. Yeah, I lost on Yusuf as well, Kaboomin, mate. Tough fight, right? It was one of those, just those frustrating losses where, Yusuf probably would have won the fight quite comfortably if he would have just avoided getting wobbled in the first and second, because aside from that head kick that wobbled him in round 2, he won round 2 quite comfortably and won the third as well. So it's one of those fights where 2 big moments for Allen just made it impossible for Yusuf to win, right? But aside from getting wobbled twice, he did perform well. Yeah, I'm feeling the same, Harvey. Obviously, we haven't finished research yet, but I'm feeling that. I'm feeling it's a great fight for Whittaker as well, man. Yeah, I agree, James. I agree with you guys. Alright, let's get this next one going. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So Gastelum looking a little bit flat here. In the past, his boxing, it looks sharp, fast hands, big power. But it's been a while since we saw that. Adesanya's title defense against Gastelum was 2 years ago now, back in 2019. Gastelum looking noticeably flatter, not as fast. I'm looking forward to going and watching Whittaker and Cannonier. Because from memory, Whittaker looked great in that matchup. The most concerning thing in this matchup for me was that we've seen, like I say, Heinish's boxing defense is very, very bad. And yet, you know, we're now 6 minutes in. Gastelum hasn't really landed very much. Keeps going to his wrestling. But we know Robert Whittaker is almost impossible to take down, right? Whittaker's takedown defense pretty legendary. Very difficult to take down. Very difficult to hold down. And so Gastelum is going to have to stand and strike with Whittaker. Yeah, I agree, Brown Dom, man. That was a great performance for Gastelum, right? You know, considering how good Adesanya is, considering the size difference as well, it was kind of amazing Gastelum was able to get inside and land anything on Izzy at all. Size difference was comical. So Heinisch is just allowing Gastelum to hold him in this position. Gastelum doesn't have anything here. You can see by how much space there is. Look at how easily Heinisch turned into Gastelum there when he actually tried. So a bit of bad fight IQ from Heinisch here, just allowing Gastelum to just hold him in these positions. Now, with how bad Heinisch's defense is, and Heinisch very much being a single shot striker, you'd expect Gastelum to be lighting him up in these positions, and he's not. It's almost like Gastelum lacks confidence to exchange with Heinisch, so he keeps tying him up. And I can't blame Gastelum because Heinisch is allowing him to rack up control time in these positions, but Gastelum's not really achieving anything in this kickboxing range, which is crazy because the Gastelum of a few years back would have knocked this guy out. I do know in the post-fight interview Gastelum did say that he knew he needed a win very badly here. Obviously after losing to Hermanson, Till and Adesanya. And that's why he came in with a grappling heavy game plan just to get the W in the bank. But it is pretty notable how he's been, you know, completely ineffective with his boxing. It's not like Heinisch is particularly elusive. And like I say, the grappling won't be an option for Gastelum against Whittaker because Whittaker's almost impossible to take down. Gastelum just doesn't have that kind of offensive wrestling. Even here, right, we're seeing like really slow hand speed from Gastelum. Definitely seems to have lost his weight. I mean, even if the best version of Gastelum we've ever seen showed up and performed, it'd probably be a competitive fight, right? But this version of Gastelum looks so flat. There's no pop in his shots, no energy. Very, very flat. Nice deep double leg takedown entry there, though, from Gastelum. And Heinisch just keeps giving his back up, right? And allowing Gastelum to rack up this control time. So that is it for round 2. Sync up round 3 for me now, guys. Start at 14 minutes and 12 seconds. 14 minutes and 12 seconds. I think the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight's 50-50, man. It is a 50-50 fight. Yeah, James, we're going to be doing the Juan Espino versus Romanov fight after this, mate, on Twitch, if you're up for it. I'll leave my the link for my Twitch channel on YouTube. Head on over to there. I won't be able to research the fight on YouTube because we're going to have to look at footage of Alexander Romanov before he came into the UFC. And the YouTube copyright algorithm is very, very aggressive, whereas over on Twitch we're going to be able to watch those fights before he came into the UFC without any risk of, you know, having my channel shut down. I used to do it before where I would research fights on YouTube, you know, using footage from other promotions, but in the end I used to get so many copyright flags, my channel was at risk of being closed down. So I do all those sessions over on Twitch now. So we are gonna do Romanov and Espino after this on Twitch. If you're interested, jump on over, guys. Follow me on Twitch. John Hess is asking, why do you think Askren versus Paul is a close fight? Basically, dude, let's just get this third round going and I'll explain it. It starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. When you watch as much fighting as I do, you just notice trends, right? So I've been watching MMA for like 20 years, and for the past sort of 8 or 9 years, most days I've watched about 4 or 5 hours of fights. You know, for the past, like I say, 7 or 8 years now, you just notice trends where there's certain types of guys which just give inexperienced fighters hell. Absolute fucking hell. And it doesn't matter what the skill gap is, there's just certain qualities in fighters that are just tough to deal with. And Ben Askren's got most of them. So you look at Askren, right? And now you look at you go to MMABettingTips.com, right? And you look at my results. I am a guy who has bet against, I mean, I can even show you. I am a guy that has bet against Ben Askren a lot and made good money betting against Ben Askren, right? Let me find it right here. Here we go. If we type Askren's surname in, look, I've bet on Ben Askren twice. Sorry, I've bet on Ben Askren's fights twice. Against him both times. I bet on Damian Maia and Masvidal to beat him. You know, both at dog odds. We made good money betting against Ben Askren when he came into the UFC. I don't rate Ben Askren. I'm not a Ben Askren fan. I don't particularly like Ben Askren, but I'm not a fucking dummy either. And I know that the type of fighter Ben Askren is, he is kryptonite for young, inexperienced fighters. So, you know, you look at Ben Askren's qualities, right? He's tough as nails. Aside from the Masvidal fight, I don't think I've ever seen him rocked in an MMA fight. Never gets tired. I don't think I've ever seen Ben Askren breathing heavily. Never even barely seen him broke a sweat. Tough as nails. You know, we've seen him in a lot of trouble against guys like Robbie Lawler, Luis Santos, Alex Sakin. He doesn't panic. You know what I mean? He doesn't panic. You put him in bad positions, the guy doesn't panic. He stays calm. He weathers the storm. He fights through difficult situations. He's just tough, durable, cardio for days. So no matter what skill advantage Jake Paul's got coming into this fight, you look at Ben Askren, the guy's been training with Duke Roufus for 10 years. You know, Duke Roufus is a kickboxing coach. Do you really think that Ben Askren didn't develop some level of boxing training at Roufus Sport under Duke Roufus for 10 years? Not a fucking chance. Just because he didn't show much striking in his MMA fights Doesn't mean he doesn't have it. What exactly do you think he was doing training to Duke Rufus for 10 fucking years? You know, he's going to absorb a lot of knowledge training to Duke Rufus for that long. And just because we haven't seen the skills don't mean they're there. And then you look at a guy like Jake Paul. He's inexperienced. This will be his third fight. You know, his last 2 fights, his pro fights, they've both cumulatively lasted less than 4 minutes, something like that. What happens when Jake lands a 5-6 strike combination on Ben? You know, the kind of combinations that put Anison Gibb and Nate Robinson into a state of panic. And Askren just eats them, smiles at him, keeps coming forward, pumping the jab, throwing hooks to the body. What happens when Ben Askren just walks through everything Jake throws at him and won't go away, keeps coming forward? Tell you what happens, man. These inexperienced fighters, they start to panic. And when they realise that their opponent can take their best shots and they don't fold like their past opponents, and they don't pay him a lot of respect and go easy on him like the guys in sparring, they start to panic. And when they panic, they can't control their heart rate, their breathing. So they start to get tired. Their arms get heavy. They stop thinking straight. And they start to fight in a state of panic, man. And that's when the wheels come off. Compared to a guy like Ben Askren, who's fought in the UFC main events. ONE FC champion, Bellator champion. He's fought monsters like Luis Santos, Koreshkov, Douglas Lima, Robbie Lawler, Jorge Masvidal, Damian Maia, Alex Sakin. These guys that have tried to fucking cave his face in. And Ben Askren stayed calm. He's got the experience of staying calm when put in bad positions. He knows how to control his heart rate, his breathing when things aren't going his way. He knows how to, compose himself when he eats a big shot to the nose or a big shot to the body. Jake Paul's only been training 3 years. He doesn't have those skills. And the thing is, everyone's talking about how great Jake is. Back in 2018, we saw Jake Paul fight Deji, right? I will link to it. I can't bring it up in on YouTube because, again, it'll get copyright flagged. If we were on Twitch, I would actually play... the clip now, but I can't play it on YouTube because the copyright algorithm's too aggressive. But I will link to you guys, man. If you watch this fight, Deji, Jake Paul in 2018. I know it was a long time ago, and people are going to be telling me, Jake Paul's improved, etc., etc. I agree with you. Jake Paul will have improved a lot since this fight. He will have. But I watch 4 or 5 hours of fights a day, most days, and I can tell you right now, a fighter doesn't improve exponentially after spending literally 4 minutes in a competitive fight. Like, literally, he spent 4 minutes in competitive fights since he fought Deji. I can tell you right now, you will improve in 3 years. You will, especially if you're young. You'll be a sponge. You'll improve a lot. But you're not going to be a completely different guy. You're not going to look completely different to how you looked against Deji. And there's a big difference between dancing around guys like Anison Gibb and Nate Robinson. And as soon as Anison Gibb and Robinson felt Jake's power and technique, they panicked and they caved. Ben Askren won't cave, and he definitely won't panic. So if you go back and watch his fight against Deji, he was very tired and very sloppy by the 4th round. This is an 8-round fight. I can tell you right now, man, Ben Askren's going to make him work a hell of a lot harder than Deji did. So if Deji can make you tired after 4 rounds, what the fuck do you think Ben Askren can do? Crazy fight. Loads of value on Askren as the underdog. I can tell you this. Loads of value on Askren as an underdog. In my opinion, it's a 50-50 fight. Maybe Jake Paul's technique is the deciding factor and Jake Paul wins. But history tells us guys who are young, talented and experienced struggle against dudes like Askren who are just tough as fuck. That's just the way it is. That's what my experience tells me. And like I always say to you guys, man, there will always be exceptions to the rule. There will always be anomalies. But if you just stay on the right side of the trend, if you just go with most likely outcomes, you'll, over the long term, win a lot more than you lose, because you won't be betting against the trend. You won't be betting against the most likely outcomes. We know tough motherfuckers like Ben Askren with cardio for days are kryptonite for young, inexperienced fighters who aren't used to being dragged into deep waters and being forced to put in difficult positions, being forced to fight while hurt, fight while tired. Jake Paul has no experience of these things. It's very, very different being in these positions in sparring compared to being in a real competitive environment with all the pressure on your shoulders of delivering all the promises you made to your team, the promotion, backing up all that shit you talked online, under the bright lights, the cameras. It's completely different. It's completely different. And when we see, guys, professional athletes who have trained in these sports their whole life buckle under the pressure of the bright lights and the big stage, what the fuck do you think is going to happen when a guy that lives in Beverly Hills, that only started training boxing 3 years ago, how the fuck do you think he's going to react? Probably not that well. Maybe he's the unicorn and the exception to the rule, and he rises to the occasion, has improved exponentially since he fought Deji, has a never-ending gas tank where he can fight for 100 rounds and not get tired. Maybe he's the unicorn. And if he is the unicorn, I'll lose my bet on Ben Askren. But that's okay, because if you just keep betting the most likely outcome, if you keep putting your money in strong positions, over the long term you will make a profit. And history tells us Askren is going to give Jake hell. I'd be surprised if Jake. I would be very surprised if Jake did as well as people think he's going to do. I would be very surprised. I'm not saying Jake won't win, but if Jake wins, I think it'll be because Askren gives him absolute hell and he passes the test with flying colours. This won't be easy for Jake. Yeah, that's possible, Moose. We see a lot of sketchy scorecards in boxing, right? I will say this, for people that are interested in betting this fight, I will say this. I do think it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for Askren to win a decision. Like, boxing is a very corrupt sport, right? Boxing is such a corrupt sport. It's going to be real hard for Askren to win a decision, because Jake Paul's in bed with a promoter, Triller, and Jake Paul's a major cash cow, right? If you think about it, if he wins this fight, you've got a big fight with Dylan Dennis on the cards. God knows how many fucking rappers and football players and other YouTubers with big audiences will want to fight Jake for a big payday. Who knows how many other MMA fighters out there that are maybe retired or thinking of retiring, names like Bisping and shit. Who knows what's out there? Maybe even Conor decides to fight Jake Paul. Things aren't exactly going great for Conor at the moment, and Dana White fucking hates Jake, so I'm sure he would let Conor do it. So I think because Jake is such a big cash cow, it's going to be very hard for Askren to win a decision, because even if Askren beats the brakes off Jake Paul, but Jake survives and it goes to a decision, it's not the first time we've seen boxing judges score fights in favour of who would be better to win, for the promotion, right? We know that boxing judging is very corrupt, so it will be very difficult for Ben Askren to win by decision. Super fucking interesting. Very, very hard. No, I don't, Svet. I actually don't. I actually think if Askren wins, I think he'll stop Jake Paul. I think he's going to stop Jake Paul. And people will be like, oh my god, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's so dumb. Askren doesn't have knockout power. Askren doesn't look dangerous. But think about it, man. Think about it logically. Think about it, right? Go and watch Deji versus Jake Paul. This was 3 years ago. By the 4th round, Jake has no power in his hands, no pop in his shots. Hand speed has fallen off a cliff. He's very tired. And he's fighting a fucking YouTuber who had 4 months of training. Now he's fighting a guy, 3 years later, who's been training under Duke Rufus for 10 fucking years. He's competed in the Olympics. Multiple promotion world champion. He's sparred with fucking Tyron Woodley and Anthony Pettis and, you know, God knows who else. If Jake Paul gets tired by the 4th or 5th round, it's going to be a very, very long, a very, very long end to that fight with Ben Askren. No matter, people always think, right? People always think Ben Askren can't knock out Jake Paul because Ben Askren doesn't have knockout power. You're looking at it all wrong, man. You're looking at it all wrong. I agree with you, Askren doesn't have knockout power. But if Jake Paul is too tired to defend himself because he's punched himself out trying to hurt Ben Askren and Ben Askren's walking through everything he throws at him, which I personally feel is the most likely outcome, he can get stopped with volume, you know what I mean? If he can't defend himself, Askren can just stop him with volume, right? TKO, technical knockout. That's how I see it. If you're asking me, do I think, Ben Askren's going to one-shot KO Paul dead? No. But I do think Askren has got a great chance of stopping Paul with volume when Paul gets tired and hurt from being under pressure and having to deal with the forward pressure of Askren and, having to fight on the back foot probably after a while when his shots don't hurt Askren anymore. And Askren doesn't have enough power in his hands to keep Askren from coming forward. I might do a video on this fight, man. A lot of people are interested in this one. I might actually do a fight on it, video on it. Sorry, I might record one tomorrow. Got a bit of extra time this week. I do feel very strongly that underdog odds Askren is a great bet. I have bet him myself. Full disclosure. See, this is a mistake a lot of people are making. John Hess is saying, no way Askren beats Paul. Just watch Ben sparring. Have you ever seen Sage Northcutt spar, bro? Looks pretty fucking impressive to me. When you say no way Askren beats Paul, I think it's very, very naive to how combat sports work. Have you ever seen Sage Northcutt spar? Have you ever seen Jet Li spar? Sure, Jean-Claude Van Damme looks amazing in sparring. Never won a UFC title though, Doesn't mean fucking anything. Sparring literally means absolutely nothing. I'd put more weight on how long Jake Paul can run on a treadmill than how he looks in sparring. I honestly think that would give us a better read on how this one's likely to go. So this is, John Hess is saying even if Ben keeps coming forward, his striking defense is so poor he'll just keep getting cracked. But for how long, dude? For how long? For how long, John? How long can Jake keep going, man? For how long, dude? For how long, dude? Everyone, you guys, this is interesting. I need to do a video on this fight. You guys care more about Askren Paul than you do about Whittaker Gastelum. This is surprising to me. This is surprising. You are right though, James, man. It's going to be very hard for James Court is just talking about the corruption in boxing. It will be very hard for Askren to win a decision, for sure. John Hess is saying Ben's going to win by Homer Simpson. That's basically how I feel. Hey, what's up, Tajik, mate? Yeah, I agree, Raj Kavaka, dude. I agree, man. I agree, mate. I agree. Alright. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Am I worried about Askren gassing? No. Never even seen him breathing heavy, dude. Cardio machine. One of those dudes, just mad genetic cardio. He just doesn't get tired. And I think it's because he doesn't panic. And we've seen him in some bad fucking positions, right? Go and watch Ben Askren versus Luis Santos. From 1. Go watch. I fucking hate... Boys, you gotta go follow me on Twitch, man. I can't show you anything on YouTube. Boys, you've got... Look, we got like 60 people watching on YouTube. Go follow me on Twitch. Because my live streams on Twitch are way better. Like, we could literally be watching the Deji fight together now on Twitch. I can't show you this shit on YouTube because the copyright algorithm is mental. Like, we could actually... If we were on Twitch now... I could actually show you guys this this fight. This one. Go watch that fight, man. It's crazy. And you'll just see Askren doesn't panic. Askren doesn't panic, man. Check it out. He's very chill. Alright. Let's get this next one going. What we're going to do is... What we're going to do, I think, is check out... Let's do Whittaker versus Cannonier. I'm very, very underwhelmed by Gastelum from that performance. There's no way I can bet Gastelum after he looked that flat. But now, let's get into Cannonier. Let's get into Cannonier and... Whittaker. Let's do it. Let's do it, boys. Let's do it. Right. I'll grab an ESPN link for you guys. Yeah. Twitch is free, man. Twitch is free. Alright, guys. Let's get it going. Sync it up. Let's get into it. Let's get this first round synced up. And from memory, Whittaker looked pretty sharp here. So it'd be good to give this a watch and see how much sharper he looked than Gastelum. Because I'm very, very underwhelmed by how flat Gastelum just looked against Ian Heinisch. So sync this up. It starts at 1 minute 58. Get it going for me, guys. 1 minute 58. Sync it up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Very, very sorry, man, for going off on a tangent. I keep going off on tangents, man. I need to stop. Last week we were talking about crypto, aliens, and the stock market. This week we're talking about Jake Paul, Ben Askren. Who knows what it'll be next week. So I am sorry if you're just here for the MMA. But after this, I'm going to research Juan Espino and Alexander Romanov after this fight. We're going to do it on Twitch. And hopefully we can dig up a bet for that one. I do feel Espino as an underdog could be a really, really good bet there. But we'll have to see. Been very impressed with Espino's grappling. Whereas Romanov is kind of a loosey-goosey grappler, right? He gives guys a lot of space when he takes them down, looks to control them. Espino's much tighter, much less room for error with a guy like Espino. Problem with Espino is so many of his fights end in round one because of how damn good he is. It's tough to know how he's going to look into that second and third round. Have any of you guys already bet this fight? The over, the odds on the over. What are the odds on the over? There's got to be a pretty good chance this fight goes over, right? See, over 2.5 rounds at 1.44. That's not bad. Both these guys tough as nails. Gastelum a decisionator. His last, well, 3 of his last 4 have gone the distance. And we know Whittaker's fighting a lot safer since losing to Izzy. And I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of Whittaker's last 5. 4 of Whittaker's last 5 have gone the distance. 4 of Gastelum's last 5 as well. I do like that over. That is pretty cheeky. I do like that. So what I'm noticing here is Whittaker's trying to play the role of counter-striker, right? Whereas Cannonier's coming forward, Whittaker just looking to pick him off with that jab. That's an interesting style because we saw against Ian Heinisch, Gastelum was looking very flat and was just really throwing single shots without really having much success. Obviously, Whittaker's striking defense, his boxing defense, a hell of a lot better than Heinisch's. So you could really struggle, or you could really see Gastelum struggling to get to Whittaker with his awkward counter-striking style. What's really weird is, since losing to Israel Adesanya, Kelvin Gastelum seems to have just declined and lost all motivation, whereas Whittaker, it's like he's made a conscious effort to reinvent himself. You know, prior to the Izzy fight, he was just one of these guys that just came out and got into absolute wars, took tons of damage, just looked to bet on his chin against his opponents, out-tough him. But when that didn't work against Izzy, he's fighting way safer, way more tactical now. And with that, let's get round 2 going. Sync up round 2. Start at 8 minutes and 6 seconds. 8 minutes and 6 seconds. Sync it up. AMW is saying Whittaker's been training with Tim Tszyu. He's one of the best boxers in Australia and he's been looking sharp. If he gets up to 1.5-ish, I'll be on Whittaker. Yeah, that's the thing, right, with Whittaker. I think everyone's on Whittaker in this fight. But is one of those things where the odds are just a little bit too steep. It doesn't feel great about taking Whittaker as such a big favourite, you know? Oh, nice one, Tez. So it looks like a lot of you are on Whittaker already. Seems like everyone is betting Whittaker in this fight. I haven't seen anyone say they're betting Gastelum. Alright, let's get this round 2 going. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. What's very interesting about this matchup is we usually see Cannonier have a lot of success with his boxing, but he can't get past the jab of Whittaker here. Very, very unusual. You can see Whittaker just picking Cannonier off with that long jab, and Cannonier's got absolutely no answer for it. And every time Cannonier blitzes forward, Whittaker just gets out the way, circles away, doesn't want to play that game. Which is interesting because we know the old Whittaker would have been more tempted to get sucked into a firefight. Would have probably used that jab to bait his opponent into coming forward, so then he can try and counter him with the power right. But here, Whittaker much more interested in just point fighting and chipping away at Cannonier. You know, Whittaker isn't doing much. Just like against Darren Till, he didn't do much. But you sense with Whittaker that he's just conscious of the scorecards and using his experience just to do enough to just stay ahead of Cannonier. Fighting very safe. You see Cannonier, rushing forward, trying to get something going, and Whittaker's not interested. He's just circling away, staying behind that jab. And of course, against Darren Till, he couldn't use the jab against Darren Till because Darren Till's too long and tall. So instead, against Darren Till, he used the leg kicks, right? You can see Whittaker more than happy just to point fight here and fight a lot safer than he has in the past. And to be fair to Whittaker, Cannonier's barely gone near him. Beautiful outside trip there from Whittaker. And obviously Whittaker's been one of these guys that's never really used his grappling. But with how bad Gastelum is on the ground, that could be another path to victory for Whittaker. In the past, I would have said, it's very unlikely he'd use it, but, this new tactical Whittaker doesn't like to put himself in too much danger. It would make sense, right? How weak Gastelum is on the ground. I mean, we've seen that against, his fights against Whiteman and Hermanson. So Hypen's just saying that Whittaker broke Cannonier's arm, which is probably one of the reasons why Cannonier has been struggling to get inside. Alright, let's get this third round going. So round 3 starts in 14 minutes and 18 seconds on Fight Pass. That's 14 minutes and 18 seconds on Fight Pass. Interesting. So AMW is saying that he spoke to Whittaker recently, and Whittaker's said that he's been putting tons of time into his grappling. With Whittaker, it could be a situation where, he was in all these wars, right? Absolutely tons of wars. And took a lot of damage against Romero and Adesanya. So maybe now he's going to go through like a bit of a Glover Teixeira process, right? Of just reinventing himself and fighting safer. And under those circumstances, you could definitely see him incorporating much more grappling into his style, right? Because we've seen him bring in, tailor-made game plans now for Cannonier and Till, right? Against Till, he chipped away with a leg kick. Against Cannonier, he's chipping away with a jab. Maybe against Gastelum, he uses his grappling. You know what I mean? It will be interesting to see. Nice one for the info, AMW. I really appreciate it, man. Let's get this next one going now. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. It goes to show how skilled Whittaker is when he held his own against Jacare, right? A good few years ago when Jacare was a lot better than he is now. But Whittaker, you could see, wasn't intimidated by Jacare's grappling as at all. Whittaker looked very, very comfortable when Jacare was trying to tie him up and drag him to the ground. Whereas we know, when Gastelum fought Jacare, right, Jacare gave him absolute hell in round 1 before he got really tired. There's different levels of the ground game. I know, even though, you'd think with all the training Gastelum's done at King's MMA, he'd have the edge over Whittaker on the ground, but we know that's not the case, right? For some reason, Gastelum's just one of these guys that doesn't seem to have improved that much. He was a low-level grappler when he first came into the UFC, and he's still a pretty low-level grappler now. We get to see a little bit of Whittaker's top game here. Cannonier trying to get his back tight to the cage so that he can start the wall walk. And Whittaker recognises that risk. So notice how Whittaker's got his right arm around the back of Cannonier. That's to try and create a barrier between Cannonier and the cage so that Cannonier can't wall walk. So even in positions like this, Whittaker is showing his positional awareness, right? So long as Whittaker's got his right arm around the back of Cannonier, it's going to be very, very difficult for Cannonier to wall walk. And Whittaker goes one step further and does something even more brilliant. Notice how Whittaker's passed over from half guard to half guard on the other side, and now he's taken Mount Beautiful. Where he passed over the half guard on the other side was brilliant, because he actually put himself then as a barrier between Cannonier and the cage, making it even more difficult for Cannonier to wall walk. And now he's taken Mount, baited Cannonier into giving his back up. And now Cannonier in big, big trouble, because, He's got Whittaker on his back, can't wall walk anymore. And now he's got to deal with his back control position before he can even think about getting back up to his feet. So really, really good positional awareness from Whittaker. But loses back control. Predominantly because those hooks he had were pretty loose. There was a lot of space for Cannonier to move around in that back control position. You know, Whittaker, only 6 foot tall, about the same size as Cannonier, wasn't able to dig in those deep hooks inside the groin of Cannonier. But little positions like that show flashes of how smart Whittaker is on the ground. How he knew he could use the cage there to make life more difficult for Cannonier. And Whittaker right back to that jab. Right back to the jab. Chipping away. Whittaker really didn't put himself in any danger in this matchup. We know Cannonier's got major power, but at no point did we see Whittaker getting reckless and getting into crazy boxing exchanges where Cannonier could have caught him with something. And it is notable to me how Gastelum looked a lot flatter and a lot slower against Heinisch than we'd seen from him in the past. Just didn't look as sharp. There's something very off with Gastelum at the moment. I do think if Gastelum came in looking like he did against Izzy, he could give Whittaker hell. But it's obviously been 2 years since we saw that version of Gastelum. And if you think about it, right, what are we seeing? Oh, wow, Whittaker got wobbled there off a stiff right hand. But, what are we seeing from Whittaker here, right? It's a counter-striking style. Just staying on his bike, picking Cannonier off with that jab. Beautiful level change there from Whittaker. Beautifully timed deep double leg takedown. But we're seeing Whittaker employ a counter-striking style, right? Circling away and just picking Cannonier off with the jab. We saw Darren Till have quite a lot of success with the counter-striking style against Gastelum, right? I know the difference is Darren Till can fight a lot longer, a lot taller than Whittaker. But it is still a recent example we've seen where Gastelum struggled against a counter-striker. Very interesting. So what we will now do is go and take a look at that Gastelum versus Till fight. And we will see. Oh, actually, no. First of all, let's look at Hermansson Gastelum. And on Twitch, like I say, on Twitch, because this fight's very quick, I would show you this fight on Twitch. But don't want to get this flagged for copyright. So, if you guys could sync up. I'm not too sure, Spedden, mate. Don't know, mate. So if you guys could sync up this next one for me. Hermansson and Gastelum. I'm going to drop in an ESPN Plus link as well. So sync this one up for me, guys. I agree, Jason, man. Jason Elgie, mate. Well said, dude. Alright, sync up this first round. Which starts at 1 minute 48. Sync it up, guys. 1 minute 48. 1 minute 48. Sync it up, guys. 1 minute 48. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So Gastelum coming out with a lot of pressure, taking control of the centre of the octagon, and forcing Hermansson to fight in an uncomfortable range very early. not giving Hermanson any time to settle here. We saw that when Cannonier put Whittaker under a lot of pressure and forced him to fight in an uncomfortable range, Whittaker's reaction was to change levels and hit that double leg takedown. And we see Hermanson try and do the same, but gets thrown onto his back. So here you'd be thinking, you know, a minute in, Gastelum in half guard, very, very comfortable here. Hermanson though rolling for a leg. Gastelum straight back on top of him. Hermanson gets to those butterfly guard and starts rolling for a leg again. Alright, let's go check out Gastelum against Till. So sync this one up for me. Sync this one up, guys. I grab you an ESPN Plus link as well. Sync it up, guys. Let's get it going. So this fight starts at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Sync it up, guys. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's get it going. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Two minutes and 40 seconds. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You know what, guys? Usually, right, I will say this. Usually when I do one of these fight research sessions, like opinions on how the fight is likely to play out will be split. You very rarely get it where everyone agrees. I don't think I've seen... How many people are watching this right now? Let me just check. About 100 people are watching this right now. Across the website, Twitch and YouTube. I don't think I've seen a single person say that they think Gastelum is going to win. Literally don't think I've seen anyone say they think Gastelum's going to win. I've never seen that happen before. Opinion is almost always divided. Almost, maybe not divided, right? You know, like when we did the Dern versus Ansarov stream last week, like 70% of people lean towards Dern, maybe 30% lean towards Ansarov. But this one, everyone's on Whittaker. I've never seen everyone agree like this before. It's mad. Matern, the contrarian. But honestly, I've never seen this where everyone agrees. It's kind of crazy. Kind of nuts, man. Kind of nuts. It's just obviously the price on Whittaker is a steep price to pay. What's Whittaker's price on DraftKings? Let's check this out. How much is Whittaker on DraftKings? I need to check. I did my team earlier on. Let me see. Whittaker's pretty expensive, you know. 9,100. That's pretty expensive, right? 9,100 is pretty expensive because I don't think it's that likely Whittaker finishes Gastelum. So that's quite a big price to pay. So Darren Till's going to be using that counter-striking style now, right? In this range. Let's see how Gastelum tries to get inside Darren Till's range and land. So it's very interesting here out. You see Darren Till chipping away at the lead leg of Gastelum, because that's one of the techniques Whittaker used on him. So it'll be interesting to see the leg kicks of Whittaker in that fight, because we didn't really see too much of it from him against Cannonier. Not sure what's happening with Gastelum, if he's just one of these guys that's lacking in confidence, right? Seems to have fallen off. Doesn't have the same fire that he once had. You can see this fight is starting to look a little bit like Cannonier and Whittaker, right? With Gastelum just coming forward aimlessly like Cannonier did. Getting picked off as he comes forward. So sync up round 2 now, guys. Round 2 starts in 8 minutes and 53 seconds. 8 minutes, 53 seconds. Sync it up, guys. And Rivers of Red is just saying that the odds on Whittaker are likely to get even worse. So everyone's saying Gastelum's only way of winning is basically a flash KO. Interesting. So Jumper is saying because of the 5-round situation, Whittaker's worth 9,100. Just I guess because his opportunity to score way more points, right? All right, let's get this next one going. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So Till had Gastelum coming forward aimlessly, for the most part swinging at air in that first round. And Till just chipping away at that lead leg with those leg kicks. Picking Gastelum off and then just circling away. It's also interesting how when these two guys come together and they end up tying up, Gastelum's getting nowhere near him. He's not even really pulling the trigger. You see what I mean? Even when they do get into a close range, Gastelum's still not able to land anything. Very, very inaccurate. Even though Till is being caught flat-footed with his chin up high and exposed when they come together like that, Gastelum still can't find the target. And you see Gastelum's frustrated now. Yeah, you know what, Zach, I'm interested to go and watch Darren Till against Whittaker now, because I remember Whittaker caused Till some big problems with those leg kicks, right? So I'm interested to go and see those leg kicks of Whittaker against Till. Because you can see Gastelum just doesn't see the leg kicks from Till coming, right? I know Till disguises them very well. But Whittaker not really known as a leg kicker, right? Not in his past fights anyway. It was only really the Till fight where, you know, we saw him build him into, you know, a really big part of his game plan. What's up, underrated, mate? Hope you're doing good, man. What's up, dude? So obviously the fight clock, our little countdown clock here, is a bit out of sync now after that stoppage for an eye poke. They're fighting again now, though. You know what, guys? It is very, very strange that when these two guys come together in that phone booth range, Gastelum just can't land anything. Literally zero. Is like he has lost confidence. He's fighting like an older fighter whose reflexes and timing have gone. Who just can't capitalize on the openings anymore. It's very, very strange. Gastelum just doesn't have the confidence to open up here like he has in the past. You know, if you think about it, he dropped Adesanya. You know, inflicted a decent amount of damage on Adesanya. That was a competitive fight, right? And yet, against Heinisch and Darren Till now, you know, we've barely seen Gastelum land a clean, hard punch in 15 minutes of, 30 minutes of footage. You know, I understand you can kind of let him off the hook with Darren Till because of how good he is defensively, how long he fights, but it's a trend now when we've seen him unable to land anything on Till, and he couldn't really get near Heinisch with clean power punches either. You know, a big trend in those two performances. What's up, Vardis, mate? Good to see you, dude. So sync up this third round now. It starts at... Round 3 starts at... 15 minutes and 25 seconds. That's 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Sync it up, guys. I mean, Till's landing a lot more than Gastelum, Raffaello. If you look at the striking stats up until this point, Till's landed more than double the amount of strikes than Gastelum. You know, if we look on UFC stats, Till's landing what he needs to land to win the fight safely, right? Where is it? If we look at it, obviously you're scoring the fight round by round. You can see in round 1, distance strikes 6-2, 6 strikes for Till to 2 strikes for Gastelum. You know what's interesting? These striking stats are actually very different to what appeared on the screen. On the screen, it was saying by the end of round 2, Darren Till had outlanded Gastelum 20 strikes to 10. But these contradict that. These stats contradict that. These stats actually show that Gastelum's outlanding Till, but those aren't the those aren't the stats that flashed up. So I don't know if these are wrong. What's really weird about this is these stats are the stats that get used on the UFC broadcast, right? It's the same people. It's the Fightnomics team that put these stats together, and they're supposed to use them. You know, on the broadcast, it's all the same. So these stats are very different from the ones we've seen on the TV broadcast, which is really weird. But no, you're right, Raffaello. Very strange. I mean, at least going off those stats anyway. Anyway, let's get this next one going. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, guys. And what we'll do after this is we will watch Darren Till against Robert Whittaker, just because I kind of want to see Whittaker's leg kicks, which we didn't really see in that Cannonier fight. And then we'll be done on this one. We'll wrap this one up. One more fight. I think the fact that literally every single person watching this thinks Whittaker will win is a sign that you have got to be a bit of a dummy to bet Gastelum here. This is the first stream I think I've ever done where everyone's agreed on who they think's going to win. It's crazy. Still haven't seen a single person on Gastelum. I'm not surprised, right? Gastelum looked so flat. So flat against Heinisch. So flat against Whittaker. Sorry, so flat against Darren Till. Not good. Something really weird that's happened to Gastelum, and we said it in the Heinisch fight. He just doesn't seem to have that sharpness about his boxing anymore. He used to be a sniper. Fast hands, big power in that left hand, but he just looks very flat. I'd even say Gastelum's boxing just doesn't look that dangerous anymore. Whereas there was a time where he did look dangerous. Now he dropped Izzy, right? Not many guys have been able to do that. Very flat. He has lost his weight. Just going to take a look through the props, see if any of the props are interesting on this one. Like I say, over 2.5 rounds at 1.44. That seems pretty generous. Both guys, I mean, in their combined last 10 fights, 8 of their last 10 have gone the distance. So quite likely this one goes the distance as well. What do you think is a realistic, like, say for example, this fight went to a decision. What would you guys say is like a realistic points expectation for DraftKings for Whittaker? So he's 9,100, right? How many points? What points range do you think Whittaker will score in? If he just chips away at Gastelum, doesn't do anything major, and wins a decision, what would you say? Average points. What are the odds on Whittaker by decision? Are there no odds out for it yet? There's gotta be, right? Oh, Whittaker by decision 2.0. Those odds are terrible. Wouldn't be taking that. Those odds are pretty nasty. 75 to 90. Interesting. What if it's not a war? What if he kind of just chips away at him? What if he just like chips away at him? 75-ish. See, that's pretty bad for a guy that's 9,100 though, right? Hilts, you'd be expecting more points than that for someone 9,100, right? That seems like a pretty bad deal. If I'm paying over 9,000, you know what? Based on these fights we're watching though, I can't see them really trading. You know what I mean? Gastelum has looked very flat and gun shy against Till and Heinisch, and Whittaker's looked quite gun shy against Till. Against Till and Cannonier as well, right? If I'm paying over 9,000 for a player in DraftKings, I want him to score at least 100. Yeah, that seems unlikely, right? What would that be? 120 divided by 5. 24 strikes around. I guess that is possible, you know. I suppose that is possible, dude. 25 strikes around. What the average is about 20, 25, right? Alright, so what we're going to do, let's check out Darren Till against Robert Whittaker, and then we're going to be done on this fight. I think, boys, we would have watched enough. So sync up this next one for me. Darren Till. You know what, AMW? I do think it's unlikely we're going to see knockdowns in this fight. Both guys are so damn tough. And they don't seem anywhere as aggressive as they used to be. Both guys just seem happy now to chip away. And volume strike, right? Alright, let's go. Let's sync it up. Alright, let's go. Yeah, there's lots of options on DraftKings this week, right? I've played around with my team and I've tweaked it loads. There's loads of options. Last week I was struggling for options. This week there's tons of options. Alright, so sync up round 1, which starts at 2 minutes and 40. Sync it up, guys. 2 minutes 40. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So look at this. Similar sort of dynamic that we saw in the Cannonier fight with Till coming forward and Whittaker just staying on the back foot and looking to chip away at Till with this jab. Exactly like we saw against Cannonier. Look at this. Whittaker not getting baited into any reckless exchanges, just circling away. That's very, very interesting because Gastelum has struggled to get into boxing range and land on Till and Heinisch. And every time we've seen Cannonier and Till come forward, Whittaker's just circled away. You know, a big difference I'm noticing here from Whittaker in this fight compared to him in Cannonier fight is, as Till gets into a range where Whittaker feels Till is going to open up, he's firing that left hook out, the power right hand out there, looking to catch Whittaker, looking to catch Till with something big. Whereas against Cannonier, he was just looking to stay behind the jab and move away. Notice every time Till comes forward, Whittaker's letting that power right hand go. That's a little bit different to what he did against Cannonier. So maybe that's an adjustment Whittaker made after this fight, right? Because this fight was very, very close. And to be fair, Whittaker didn't land much in this fight. So maybe he and his team went back and they looked and saw that, you know, they threw a lot of power right hands, didn't land many of them. Whereas, you know, if they would have stayed behind the jab when Till was coming forward, they would have disrupted Till's ability to come forward and they would have landed more volume. So maybe that's something Whittaker learned from this fight, took into the Cannonier fight and did a lot better. Because remember, we've never really seen Whittaker use this counter-striking style before, right? This was the first time we saw him use it. So perhaps he was still looking for a way to make it work for him. Because you saw the jab against Cannonier, you know, gave him really, really big problems. Cannonier just didn't know how to deal with it. Whereas here, Whittaker's very much loading up on big power strikes, big power kicks, big power right hands. Not so much of that against Cannonier. Yeah, you know what, Zach? It is weird, mate. Like I say, Gastelum in the past was so aggressive. Fast hands, big power in that left hand, difficult to deal with. But he's just looked so flat recently. You know, we know Ian Heinisch has got terrible boxing defense. He was never in danger against Gastelum, not even close. Tajik Bey is saying that Whittaker's going to be really popular on DraftKings. Would you guys put Whittaker in your DraftKings team? Let me know, guys. Do you think Whittaker's a good pick for DraftKings? Because there's a lot of fighters in that range, right? Who we got? Let's take a look. In that range, price range, I mean, you've got Tony Gravely, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Godinez, Whittaker, and Cortez. You know, if you think about it with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he's probably got more chance of getting a finish than Whittaker, right? Even though Whittaker won't like me saying that, because obviously Abdul Razak Al Hassan's fighting Whittaker's teammate. But anyway, sync up the next one for me. It starts at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. That's 8 minutes 47. 8 minutes 47. Let's get into it. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. So we didn't actually see any of the leg kicks from Whittaker in round 1. I thought for some reason there were tons of leg kicks in this fight. And there weren't any really in round 1. So we'll see if that's something Whittaker builds in now in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. But anyway, needless to say, like almost everyone else watching this, I do lean towards Whittaker. But I just think he's a bit too steep of a favourite to bet on. Just because I don't think the risk to reward ratio is great, you know? At the same time, I don't really see any way Gastelum's going to cause him a problem, but I just don't see tons of upside in betting Whittaker is such a big favourite. Now, what's interesting here is Whittaker has knocked Till down. Till kind of slipped. Like when you watch it in the slow-mo replay, you'll still see Till kind of slip there. But what is impressive about this position is, from memory, Whittaker was able to generate an enormous amount of damage from this position, which is very, very impressive, considering we haven't seen Whittaker in this position very often in his, in his MMA fights, and the guy's not a grappler, right? Do you know anything about Godinez Hiltz? I've never seen her fight before. What are the odds? Godinez, oh Jesus, Godinez, one of the biggest favourites on the card. I've never seen her fight though, man. She's Mexican. So she went the distance with Demopoulos. So she can't be that good. Right, Demopoulos is super average. So she can't be a total killer, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, for her to go the distance with Demopoulos, like, she's probably not going to be a total killer, you know what I'm saying? Demopoulos super average everywhere. We know Jessica Penne, at least the last time we saw her fight, was very, very tough. Although she is 38 years old now, we haven't seen her for, 4 years. 4-year layoff, man, that's pretty brutal. Yeah, for her to go the distance with Demopoulos, and it was a majority decision, which indicates that was quite a competitive fight. That's a bit of a red flag. We'll have to see though, man. Yeah, you are probably right, Hiltz, mate. Not going to argue with that, mate. She took a ton of damage, right? Interesting jumper. Very interesting, mate. Interesting way of looking at it. It's interesting you say that, Hiltz, because historically, Penne is Penny's not someone that's ever had the quit in him, right? Oh, nice one, James Court. Cheers, mate. Nice one, dude. Thing is, Penny's one of these fighters that's got no quit in her, right? One of the reasons why... see? That's where I disagree with you, though, Hiltz. Penny's ground game is very, very, very good. Penny, very high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She's been a BJJ coach at Alliance MMA for a long time, right? Penny's ground game is decent. Penny's problem has always been she can't get fights to the ground because she's got no offensive wrestling. But Penny's actual ground game, very, very good. She's a bit of a ninja on the ground, man. She can just never take girls down. She doesn't have that physicality, that offensive wrestling. Tajik Bey is saying Penny's probably in the optimal. What do you mean by that, mate? I'm not down with the DraftKings lingo. Let me know what you mean, dude. So let's start this third round. It starts at 14 minutes and 57 seconds. That's 14 minutes and 57 seconds. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. So what we'll do, boys, I'm feeling pretty tired now. Once we're done with this fight, I think I'm going to call it a night, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll research a bunch more fights tomorrow on Twitch. Hopefully we could dig up some more bets tomorrow. I don't have many bets yet for this card, although the overs only got the overs and props only got released today, so I need to go through those and take a look at the overs and props, because we're about halfway through researching this card now. So hopefully we can dig up some overs from the fights we've done. Like I say, over 2.5 rounds on this fight looks decent. I do feel with Whittaker's style here, we saw Gastelum get very frustrated against Darren Till when he kept coming forward and Darren Till just refused to stand in front of him. We actually saw Gastelum look visually frustrated, right? Very frustrated. You could really see how Whittaker's style could frustrate him as well. Because this style from Whittaker, the one we saw against Cannonier, is very annoying, right? You see Till now. Till is saying, come on, let's fight. And Whittaker just not interested in playing that game. He's blitzing forward and letting that right hand go. But every time Till comes forward, he's just backing up and circling away. Very, very frustrating. And the thing with Till is, Till's got the length which he can still use to get to Whittaker. Whereas Gastelum doesn't, right? He's a lot smaller. Sounds good, Zach. Looking forward to researching that Cortez fight. Ah, I see what you mean, Hiltz. And I see what you mean. If, like, well, if Penny was able to pull off an upset, you mean? So interestingly, we haven't seen as many leg kicks from Whittaker in this fight as I thought we did. Yeah, it'll be interesting to research, man. It's interesting because, as a general rule, right? Generally speaking, Mexicans, especially Mexican female fighters, usually aren't very good on the ground, right? They're usually strikers. I know it's a bit of a sweeping statement, but it tends to be true. And we know Penny's pretty nasty on the ground, so will be interesting to take a look at that one. When I saw that she was Mexican, I was like, oh, maybe Penny can get something going here. They kind of threw her to the wolves, right? Back to back, having to fight Jessica Andrade and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. No picnic there. It's also kind of crazy how they gave Penny a title shot after only winning one fight in the UFC. Like, I understand Penny was very good back in the day. You know, Penny back in Invicta was decent. But to throw her into a title shot after only one split decision win over Randa Marcos and then releasing her after 2 of her 3 losses were against these monsters is kind of harsh treatment, right? You know what, Hilt? I can't wait to research that fight, mate. That's going to be the first one we do tomorrow, man. Can't wait to get into Espino and Romanov. Cannot wait. So let's get into round 4. It starts at 21 minutes and 5 seconds. 21 minutes and 5 seconds. Sync it up, guys. Sync it up. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. God, I am feeling pretty tired, boys. I don't know what happened. I've been hit by a wall of tiredness. I was planning on doing a marathon of fight research tonight, but I know I'm not that entertaining to listen to at the moment. I'm feeling tired, man. Pretty tired. Wanted to do a couple more fights tonight, but I don't want to bore you all with me sounding really flat. We'll do a marathon tomorrow instead. Although we have got a couple fights done today, right? Put a pretty big dent in this card. We're halfway through the card already, which is good for a Tuesday. Can't complain with that. And you know what, guys, with that, I don't think we're really going to see much else here. It's quite clear what Whittaker's new style entails. The kind of style he's used against Cannonier and Till. He just stays very, very patient. Waits for you to come forward and then picks you off with a jab or the power right hand. Doesn't really do a lot else. But with how gun-shy Gastelum's looked against Heinisch and against Till, that style's likely to be pretty effective to just frustrate Gastelum. So that's going to be it for me. I've never seen a live stream where every single person is on the same fighter. Literally every single person watching this thinks Whittaker is going to win. I agree with you. It's just obviously his odds reflect that, right? Steep odds. It's tough to bet a guy at odds like this in MMA. Very, very tricky, man. But anyway, that is going to be it for me. Thank you very much thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'm super tired. Yeah, I probably will do one this weekend, Aldo. We'll probably do a prop stream this Saturday, mate. So thank you, everyone, for watching, guys. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do loads of fights tomorrow, boys. And I'll try and drop a Jake Paul Ben Askren video as well.